B1 family, welcome to Black Logic. Good afternoon, good evening. So today, before we start off with the good, the bad, and the ugly, we already know who the cabinet members are, and this is a matter of perspective and the information that we can gather from the internet of all these political and non-political people that Donald Trump is appointing to his cabinetry. But first and foremost, I want to point out to all the Democratic shills, all the people who spoke up for the Democrats, and that's why I always state that if you are a Black American, if you're a foundation Black American, then your stand should be on truth and empowerment of your people. And that doesn't mean siding with a political party. At no time should you ever side with a political party. You should side with the policies that empower and benefit your community, just as other groups do. Just as other groups do. So when we look at certain political figures, when we look at certain star power entertainers, the homework is due, family. And it's time we really break down what's been going on behind the scenes of this political charade. Let's talk about Kamala Harris very quickly before we get into Donald Trump's cabinet picks. Let's talk about the real game that's being played. And that game, folks, is all about buying influence. Now, if you want a more comprehensive breakdown, go check out our great brother, Professor Black Truth. But this is about buying influence, paying for narratives that they will continually push throughout the presidential run of Kamala Harris. And they're using star power to push an agenda that doesn't represent the true needs for Black America. What am I talking about? I'm talking about people like Oprah Winfrey. That's who I'm talking about. That's who I'm talking about. I'm talking about people like Oprah Winfrey and Al Sharpton and no other than the notorious, infamous Roly-Poly Martin. Now, these people are presumably, especially with Oprah Winfrey, she's a billionaire. Why would you ever have to pay a billionaire to support your campaign? I would like to believe that Al Sharpton is a millionaire. He works for a large corporate news mega magnet network. And then again, Roland Martin, I don't know what his financial status is because he's always begging for money for the corporate media and from donors, so I don't really know his stance. But family, when you go into the FEC.gov, and let me blow this up for your viewing pleasure, okay? Let me just blow this up for your viewing pleasure. Now, Harpo Productions, everybody is familiar with Oprah Winfrey's Harpo Productions of creating movies like, networks like We and other things of that nature. The National Action Network is a network, or rather an organization that's headed by Al Sharpton. And we know New Vision Media is headed by Roland Martin. Look at the figures on the board. How much did they pay Oprah Winfrey to go and parade around on stage to support Kamala Harris? They paid Oprah Winfrey $1 million. She's a billionaire. But they still had to pay her $1 million for her to show up and show out. She doesn't have that influence anymore. So that was wasted money. And again, those are your donation money. That's your donation money as well as your tax money. If you don't think they took some tax money to support her campaign, please. Now that's my conjecture. The National Action Network, $500,000, two stipends of $250,000, and then Roland Martin's New Vision Media, or Tide Vision Media, received $350,000. And it's no secret that Kamala Harris had her fair share of high-profile Black figures backing her. These are the so-called Democratic shields we've been telling you guys about. But this is just very few of them. There's a lot more. There's a lot more people who got paid. And guess what? They have to make this stuff public of where they got their money from. These are the household names, big hitters in so-called Black media that's supposedly influential. Now, we didn't even talk about the entertainers and stars like Plies, Remember when P. Diddy was free? And I'm not laughing at the brother's incarceration, but remember he was in free. He was like die or vote. He had some slogan like die or vote or something like that. Trina, Meg Thee Stallion, Gorilla, J-Lo had all of these entertainers trying to persuade black folk and Latinos. Uh-oh. And the reason why that's important is because Latinos like, nah, we're not playing the liberal tricks. We're not playing with all these different letter groups that you guys are trying to promote for kids, and you guys are really not talking about business. Because don't forget, family, every time we speak about a Latino or Hispanic, why do people think they are illegal? There have been Hispanic people here for at least 100 years. Now, black folk has been here longer, but nonetheless, there have been Latinos, aka Hispanics here for a very long time. So we do have a large population of Hispanic Americans. Now, some people are maybe 1 or 2 generations back, but nonetheless, not all Hispanic people are illegal, even though that's kind of the way that the media, the right-winged media, try to make it seem to be. But that's not the case, because then they will be talking about people like Ted Cruz of Texas, who's a Republican, who's a Latino. The last name Cruz, that's not a quote-unquote American last name to a certain degree, but nonetheless, I digress. Or Nick Fuentes, your most infamous and famous known white supremacist. But these are the so-called household names that people are aware of. Individuals who are supposed to be the pillars of integrity and leadership, but again, they always lead the pig to slaughter. But here's the thing that we need to really dive into the details. You start to realize something about these relationships. These folks just don't support Harris out of the goodness of their hearts, even though Oprah is a billionaire. It states here that she's worth $3 billion, and that information is coming from Forbes. And you know Forbes probably had the most accurate information next to the IRS. Yeah. They just don't support Harris out of the goodness of their hearts. They were paid. See, when we talk about paid and bought bootlicks, we're talking about these folks here and many more. That's right, paid. And we're talking about significant amounts of money to stand behind a woman who, frankly, haven't shown much in terms of genuine policies for the foundational Black American community. But when the money's right, loyalty can be bought, can it? As long as you pay me my fair share, I'll support you all the way to the polls. So when you hear people say Kamala's got Oprah Winfrey's back or Al Sharpton is in her corner, just know it didn't come for free. Yeah, and listen, family, they're not paying $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000. No, the bare minimum is $250,000. That is life-changing money to most of us. Life-changing money. You probably can buy a house, pay off your bills, buy a car, send your kids to school, whatever the case may be. This is life-changing money that she paid of your donation money to abort and pay for bootlicks. The real question is, when does it become too much to pay someone to prop up your image? When does it stop being a favor or a dinner and become a full-blown transaction? See, what happened to, hey guys, I want you to come out. I'm going to go over some policies. I'm going to provide a meal. By the way, I'm even going to fly you out first class. So roughly we're talking about, let's see, first class, let's say $5,000. Let's say a good meal, $300. So we're talking about $5,300. Maybe I can understand that. A plane ticket, sure. You're a big figure. I want your support, so I'm going to fly you out in class. I'm going to feed you a good meal. I'm going to give you some steak, some lobster, some shrimps, okay? I'm going to do whatever I can so you can come on board. But a bag? I mean, literally, family, a bag of bank money to back a political candidate who doesn't even have a full plan for Black American needs. And don't forget all of these people, Roland Martin, Al Sharpton, Oprah Winfrey. I would like to believe they're financially stable, and I would like to believe that they are well taken care of. That's where I started to have the problems. And let's keep it real. You think Oprah's supporting Kamala because of a genuine belief in her policies? Or do you believe, let me say it again, you think Oprah is supporting Kamala because of her genuine belief in Kamala's policies? Or do you think Oprah's getting paid for her time and influence? Can I present Exhibit A, Harpo Productions, $500,000, disbursement October 15th. Lord have mercy, what I can do with $500,000. Babe, you need some new shoes. Wow. Think about her getting paid for her time and influence when we're speaking about good old Harpo Production, AKA Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey. Her ability to sway an entire demographic. Let's talk about how much Oprah's brand is worth and how many eyes she can move. Because a post from Oprah could have millions of people reconsidering their vote or shifting their stance, especially the baby boomer generation. Especially the baby boomer generation. You get a vote, you get a vote, and I got a vote, and you get a vote, but I'm getting $1 million for Kamala Harris. Thank you very much. And we're not talking about a tweet or an Instagram post. We're talking about a media empire that Oprah Winfrey has that influences millions of people. An empire that's funded by who? Her sponsors. And who's sponsoring these individuals now? Good old Kamala girl. Why is this important? Because when you look at these three figures, family, Oprah Winfrey owns a whole media network. She is a media conglomerate. Then you have Al Sharpton, who is on, what is he on? MSNBC, CSNBC, one of the MSNBCs, but he also is the CEO founder of the National Action News Network, right? So when we look at these public figures, we see the influence just by them being on television and having their own networks and pushing the propaganda to trick and coerce black folk to vote for Kamala Harris. All the while, they're getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like Al Sharpton, he got paid $500,000. He said, yeah. I'll go on stage and while I'm public on TV Live, I'll say some positive things about Kamala and how stupid it would be if black folks don't vote for her. Yeah, we need black people in place to tell other black people to vote for the people we want in office because we got paid good money. You think someone with Sharpton's history, but I know he's far from that now. The history of advocating for people, black people, in the streets fighting for reparations, speaking on police brutality, would be in it for the people, right? You think he would really be in it for the people? But here we have him back in a candidate who has never presented a solid reparations plan, who actually was against reparations in 2016, who has never spoken about reducing police violence. And matter of fact, she named and labeled herself the top cop in California when she was a district attorney. She's not talking about reducing police violence in the detail that we need. And then when we're talking about good old Al Sharpton, does Al Sharpton have an interest in a serious, meaningful policy to tackle these issues, or is he just another shield paid to support the status quo? That's what I'm talking about today, family. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, because these are bought and paid for bootlegs. Yeah, we have to address these folks. And don't forget, family, I'm definitely not going to leave out good old Roland Martin. Oh, God. And believe it or not, Roland Martin's YouTube page. It was a Black Star. I know under here he's New Vision Media. Who knows the multiple LLCs he probably created to avoid taxes, but I digress. But some would like to believe he's a big name who has essentially carved out his niche as a political commentator in black media ever since he got fired from CNN, was it 10, 20 years ago? But he's been another of Kamala's so-called shields. Let me ask you this. Let me ask the family this. When was the last time Roland Martin truly held her feet to the fire on anything that actually benefits foundational black Americans? I'll wait. Or better yet, let me guess. He's been too busy collecting checks to even know there's a structural issues while we're still fighting today. Because every single time he calls out to these mass media or these donors or these political figures, he's like, you should be supporting black media. You should be supporting black media. You should be supporting New Vision Media. Oh. You should be supporting New Vision Media. $350,000 to you, Roland. Good job. He's been collecting checks. You know, these things like mass incarceration, economic disenfranchisement, police brutality, and the ongoing wealth gap. Good old roly-poly Martin has been part of the system that makes us believe a flashy soundbite is enough to justify a person's actions, and it isn't. So when the new black media tells you that these shields are getting paid, and it's not me, I'm not feeding you my rhetoric, I'm not giving you misinformation. This is from the federal government, where they have the public reveal. So when we're telling you that these people are getting paid, you better believe it. This isn't some made-up conspiracy, family. This is just the truth as we know it. We're talking real cash, moving hands for real influence. I don't even know what all the stars got to get up on stage. Don't forget about the Democratic National Convention, okay? Don't forget about the Democratic National Convention where they had DJs, rap artists, basketball players. They had everybody. Don't let them fool you. This isn't the first time this has happened in politics when a politician is willing to use star power to disguise the lack of substance. You need to call it for what it is. They're paying for legitimacy. That's what they're paying for. They're paying for black people to see famous black people supporting people who appear to be black. I got stuff all over the place over here. That's truly why I'm not on camera, family. I got so much stuff in the background. I'm working on a couple of things, but nonetheless, these are the issues that we're facing. These are the issues that we're facing. They're paying to be legitimate. They're paying these people to be influential so you guys can go out and vote. But here's the thing. We can't ignore the laws and legislation that are a backdrop to this. Take a look what Kamala has done in office. A lack of tangible policies for us, while simultaneously pandering to stars who have these questionable track records when it comes to black liberation. Take the qualified immunity issue. That's one thing that would have really benefited black Americans because we are always over-policed. Seems to be, was it 1 out of 4, 1 out of 3 of police encounters, someone is being harmed, mistreated, or being set up to a certain degree? Because qualified immunity, this legal doctrine, it shields police officers from being held accountable for abuse. You think Oprah Winfrey, Al Sharpton, and Roland Martin are calling Kamala out on this? Absolutely not. They're paid to be silent. They're paid to talk about real issues. That's why she lost. And silence, and believe me, silence helps protect the system. The very system that's putting black people at risk every day. Where's the executive action on police reform? And I'm not talking about defund the police. No. Do not defund the police. Because believe me, family, when you have a house and you have a car and you live in a neighborhood and something goes down, you want the police to come on out and hopefully they render a solution non-violently where no one essentially gets killed. Or maybe there is an emergency. The only thing black folk want is good policing. We don't want over-policing. We don't want people to have implicit biases, negative stereotypes of black people. We just want them to come on the scene and act as though they were treating, that they treat us like real people, which we are, like Homo sapiens, human beings. So no, I don't believe in defund the police. Where's the funding for black schools, black communities? Where's the legislation to push reparations into law? Not HR 40, not a study. But you're telling me that for all the star power she's been using, she hasn't been able to put her name behind the policy we need the most. See, it's really time to stop pretending about representation. And that is what they're using. And don't get me wrong, representation is fine, but it doesn't pay the rent and it really never closed the wealth gap that we have in black America. These political figures, family, their celebrity supporters want to play this game to keep the status quo going. They're use our issues for clout, but when the cameras turn off, nothing gets done. Nothing ever gets done. We talk about the same things every election. No new laws, no reparations, no real change. Just a handful of people who, for the right price, will sell their souls for access, influence. And Oprah Winfrey, Roland Martin, Al Sharpton are only examples. There are very few in this whole cabal of Democratic shills pushing these perspectives and narratives on black folk. The homework is in. The homework is due. So next time you see one of these so-called shills out here promoting a politician who hasn't delivered for black Americans, they just yipping and yapping. Remember, it ain't love. No love, no love, no love. That's love, the money. This is about business. This is about a transaction. This is about they got paid to influence and use their star power to garnish the black vote. And when you see these media figures propping up these politicians, remember that they're getting paid to push these narratives. I remember, I forgot where I was, but remember that time, it was a couple of years ago, that it was pushing that black people or necessarily black men were going out just harming random Asian people. We've never done that. We've lived beside Asians. They have literally planted Asians in black communities, and we have never had a problem. Even though just the other day, I think I pointed out that the U.S. government, did I show you guys that? I'm about to show you guys, Lord, that the U.S. government and the Korean government were in a contract so Korean citizens coming to America can open up beauty shops in black neighborhoods. Allegedly. I just gotta say it for legal reasons, but it's the truth. Allegedly. But it's about business, family. And when you, they're getting paid to push these narratives. And I was trying to tell people this, they were really focusing on abortion, which only 12% of Americans were really focused on. Most people were really focused on the economy. I was like, Kamala Harris isn't your savior. And just like the other day, it's about self-empowerment first. You have to self-empower yourself, empower your family, and then you can go out with the good fight. And in the black community, long story short, we need real change, and it won't come from a paycheck. But let me show you guys. Let me show you guys what I was referring to. I believe I had it on my Twitter. Now, bear with me. Bear with me. I believe I had it on my Twitter. I want to show you guys this because I really think it's important. Had it on my Twitter. I think it was in politics. Give me one sec. Give me 1 second. Okay, yeah, some coon up here talking about some stuff, but I thought I didn't save it. I'm so sorry. I thought I saved this information. They had a real news report of how the U.S. government was in cahoots with the Korean government of supporting Koreans going into the black neighborhood. Oh, I think I found it. I think I found it. Here it is. I think I found it. You guys are not going to believe this. I mean, you're going to believe it, but you're not going to believe it. It's one of those things. Let me share this with you guys. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. So it says, so basically U.S. government stepped in to ensure that the black hair industry was controlled by the Asians. Listen in on this.
Later, I learned that what we're seeing now, the Korean domination of the black hair industry, had its start back in the early 60s with the help of both the Korean government and the United States government. This is Chosun, one of the most respected newspapers in South Korea. And it's inside the archives of this newspaper that I discovered a document from 1965 in which the wig manufacturers in Korea convinced the Korean government to ban the export of raw hair, making it impossible for anyone to manufacture wigs from the highly desirable Korean hair population, except for the Korean manufacturers themselves. And 6 months after the Korean ban on the export of hair, the United States government banned the import of any wig that contained hair from China. This ban on Chinese wigs virtually locked in the wig business for these South Korean merchants. So it seems that what we're seeing today, the Korean domination of the black hair industry, had its start with the help of both the Korean and the United States government almost 40 years ago.
Yeah, family. They banned any other hair that was coming into the U.S. from China. It didn't matter where it was from. Only the Koreans could export fake hair or hair inside of America, which they dominated the black hair industry. Because, again, you see all of our sisters with all these, some of them are fly hairstyles and others, I'm needless to say, I won't go there. But nonetheless, yeah. So when people don't believe that black Americans were systematically targeted for us not to be independently financially stable and to depend on ourselves, we can't even own and operate businesses in our own neighborhood and communities. And when we do, we're always being attacked. You guys remember the turkey leg hut? I believe that the turkey leg hut got shut down, or they're going through litigation of the surrounding community, which is majority white. But people like to tell you that there's no racism in America, that white supremacy doesn't exist, that systematic racism has been eradicated, which are just flat out lies. Flat out lies. B1 to Jermaine Anderson, I see you, brother, my great moderator in the room. Go and support the channel. Hit that like button, up or down. And if you're not a subscriber, if you feel like you like what you hear, you don't like what you hear, but you like that you don't like what you hear, then subscribe to the channel as well. All right. We got Lion Tribe Activewear. B1 to you, brother. He stated here that the Democrats got too arrogant and too beside themselves, taking us black folks for granted. The sad part about this is that they haven't learned anything, which means they'll be losing more elections, as they should. See, they have taken the black vote for granted for so long, and just as we did with Hillary Clinton, and a lot of people believe that as misogyny of some sort, the patriarch. Oh my God. My good brother, B1 salute to Laverne Gibbs. But yeah, family, let's jump into it. Let's go over these cabinet picks for Donald Trump. Can we do that? Let's go over these cabinet picks for Donald Trump. Because the first young lady you see right here is no other than Linda McMahon. I guess when you say McMahon, I believe the H-O is silent. But yeah, Linda McMahon, they're trying to make her head of the United States Secretary of Education. And we're talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because what Linda is best known, she's best known as the CEO of WWE and head of the Small Business Administration under Trump. I don't know if you guys recall her being head of the SBA under Trump's first administration. I think after 2 years, she stepped down to run for the Senate or Congress or something like that. But education, this is a whole different arena. Critics argue that she has no relevant experience in education policy or management, and that her tenure might prioritize privatization, privatization and vouchers, which will essentially threaten the public education space. And for Black Americans, this may widen inequality in underserved communities. And the only underserved communities that I'm aware of, and that I won't say aware of, that I know of are Black communities that have Black students. So the verdict is this: bad, zero educational experience, and the ugly, likely to push schools being private, which will harm public schools and deepen educational disparities. We don't have money to be paying for private schools or get a partial voucher, which you're going to be paying with your EBT card. And I'm not saying that a majority of Black Americans on welfare, because we are not. Majority of us are in the middle class. I can tell you right now, most of these are the bad and the ugly. That's just the truth of the matter, family. And you guys know this guy right here. Let me see if I can blow this up. There we go. Marco Rubio. Now, with Marco Rubio, he brings foreign policy experience. You know, he was a part of the Senate Intelligence Committee. But the funny thing about this, and that's why I say these politicians, aka politician, Marco Rubio, in his past, he was flip-flopping on Donald Trump. Because if you guys remember, he called Trump a con artist before he jumped on the MAGA bandwagon. Good job, Rubio. Good job, Mark. But in my opinion, this makes his loyalty questionable. But again, J.D. Vance did the same thing. The verdict. Here's the good. There's good here. Marco Rubio, foreign policy expertise, that's a good thing. And he will be first as a Latino Secretary of State. That's pretty good. He'll be the first Latino Secretary of State, and he does have some expertise in foreign policies. Here's the ugly. He lacks consistency, and he is likely to push aggressive anti-Cuban policies that won't resonate with all Americans. This is my 2 cents, family. Take it with a grain of salt. Oh, Matthew Gaetz. Good old Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. Yep. Matthew Gaetz as Attorney General is like, in my opinion, putting a fox in charge of the hen house. Because Gaetz have been a vocal critic of the DOJ, or the Department of Justice. But we all know he has his own legal issues. Remember those allegations of underage sex trafficking with old Matty Gaetz here? So this appointment is, in my opinion, is beyond controversial. because of those allegations. And people have come out. I believe there's an eyewitness that actually stated that he had interactions with a 14-year-old or 15-year-old girl, allegedly. Here's the verdict. Bad. Major ethical baggage. And here's the ugly. How can he oversee the DOJ when he spent years undermining its credibility and dodging serious accusations himself? How? Next. This guy right here. Secretary of Defense, Fox News host Pete Hegseth. I don't know if he's even qualified because, again, he's a Fox News host and he's going to be running the Pentagon, the Secretary of Defense. Hegseth has a military background, mind you. He does have a military background, but from his professional experience, he knows little to no strategic experience. From a Department of Defense standpoint, he's known more for his own screen personality than his qualifications to oversee America's defense strategy. What are we talking about? Donald Trump is just appointing entertainers, news moguls, like. But family, I think we all deep down inside knew this. And don't get me wrong, that's why probably a lot of black people was like, okay, well, I'm going to just vote for the lesser of two evil. And I believe that this person is more evil than this person. But the verdict, I won't ramble too long because we have a couple of names to go through. The verdict is the bad. He lacks the depth, the background, the experience to handle national defense at this scale, at the most powerful country in the world. What are we talking about? Transportation Secretary. Transportation Secretary. It says here that November 18, 2024, Sean Duffy. Is anybody familiar with Sean Duffy? Anyone? Former congressman, has been tapped for disposition. Now, I think he served on the Financial Committee in Congress, and he does have expertise in infrastructure, but it's very limited. But from the very beginning, he's been a loyal Trump supporter. But this is what a lot of people may say. They may question if his loyalty outweighs knowledge of the complexities in transportation policies. We're talking about family. We're talking about highways, public transit. We're talking about very critical infrastructure for our communities, let alone the rest of America. And granted, this may not be his top priority. The verdict, here's the bad. Limited experience in transportation. The ugly, could neglect equitable infrastructure projects for our communities. That's where I'm at. Now, again, we all know Dr. Oz is a real doctor, supposedly. But again, he is a TV personality. But nonetheless, Dr. Oz, he will be overseeing Medicare and Medicaid. And Oz's medical background gives him some credibility, right? Because he is a doctor. But his history of promoting questionable health products on his show, and I used to watch his show, and I'm like, why is he prescribing? No, I'm gonna go there because I'm no doctor myself. But he was promoting these questionable health products like he was getting paid to do it. Excuse me. That's my opinion. But this makes, in my opinion, his appointment controversial. Because will he prioritize evidence-based health care, or will he promote other products? But millions of Americans depend on these programs, Medicaid and Medicare. And really, this isn't a time for gimmicks. Here's the verdict. The good. He has a medical background. The bad. History of promoting pseudoscience that raises questions about his judgment in critical healthcare policies. The end. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr. Now, Carr, he's advocated for deregulation of the telecom industry, which could benefit big corporation, but it may hurt us in turn. And what I mean by us, I mean consumers, as American consumers. Net neutrality, forget it. Rural broadband expansion, maybe not a priority. But it should, because that, again, when you go over to these other countries, let's take, for instance, Korea, because we spoke about Korea. It doesn't matter where you go in Korea. You're getting 5G internet. The end. At least I did. The verdict. The good, he has telecom experience. The ugly, he's going to prioritize deregulation over consumer protections and equity in broadband access. Who is this guy? Secretary of the Department of Energy. Let's see, this guy, CEO Chris Wright. Chris Wright. Anybody familiar with Chris Wright? Because Chris Wright is an oil executive who is skeptical of climate change, heading the Department of Energy. He is a oil executive, family. He has, I don't want to go off on a tangent or a rant. I'm just looking at some of these picks, and it's kind of like some of these picks are really good picks. Don't get me wrong. Everybody got their own baggage. So I'm kind of being I'm scrutinizing everyone to a certain degree, but some of these are good picks. But I'm looking at people's history, and granted, these people may do phenomenal jobs. I'm not saying they won't, but usually when you go for let's say a manager position or a supervisor position or director or president position, guess what you usually have? Experience. Yes, you usually have experience. And he's about to be the head of the Department of Energy, and he's an oil executive. He's not, and I'm not saying green energy, but there's different forms of energy. Again, I digress. But in my opinion, this is like asking a bank robber to run the vault. You know, the verdict is this: the ugly, a direct threat to climate progress. Because it doesn't matter if you believe in global warming. Global warming is happening. It's happening. Either one or two things, I believe, family. Global warming is a real thing, or the earth is in a cycle that may occur every 500 years, where the melting of the ice caps in Antarctica, etc., and then it forms itself back, and then another 500 years or 1,000 years, we go to a cooling period. But family, we have history. We have logs and records that dates back to I want to say the late 1200s. But again, it could be 1,000 years. I just don't know. But yeah, he's an oil executive. White House press secretary. Now, this was expected, believe it or not. And she would be the youngest, if I can recall, in this position. I don't know if you guys are aware of this young lady here. She was on his cabinet previously. Carolyn Levitt. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but she was in his cabinet because she's just 26 years of age, family. And she's going to be the press secretary. And she'll be the youngest in history in that position. And believe it or not, her youth, her energy could bring a fresh perspective. I don't know. But if you look at her history, you know, as a combative partisan figure, it may alienate more than she communicates. And if you guys ever seen some of her exchanges with the press, they've been quite heated. Yeah. The good, dynamic and energetic. The ugly, just going off her resume, so to speak, she lacks, the maturity and diplomacy needed for this high pressure role. Yeah, people gonna be asking you some questions. Hopefully she's preparing for that. Department of Interior. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. Anybody familiar with Doug Burgum? I don't think too many people are familiar with North Dakota, let alone Doug Burgum. Not too many people who have been to North Dakota except people who are from North Dakota. But Doug's background in energy, he made a lot of energy policies. I'm trying to recall it from memory. He made a lot of energy policies that makes him an advocate for fossil fuels. But it also puts him in direct opposition to renewable energy initiatives. So the verdict, the bad, too focused on fossil fuels, lacking balance. But he's going to be part of the Department of Interior. Tulsi Gabbard. Everybody's familiar with Tulsi Gabbard because Tulsi Gabbard used to be a Democrat. And she changed her stance. And you would like to believe because she came from a Democrat, she may bring some unique perspective and she may have sort of a bipartisan appeal. She may. She may. Verdict, the good, bipartisan approach. She has a military background. All that looks good. But the ugly, her alignment with a torn, who was she aligned with? Because she last praised of the Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad, and she got a lot of flack for supporting that guy, and because people look at him as an authoritarian, so that may raise some red flags for national intelligence oversight. Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence, and everybody got to be familiar who will be the Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, and she will be making history as the first woman to be named White House Chief of Staff. But if we kept a real family, her background raises questions. Credit with Trump's political comeback, she's known as the behind-the-scenes power player. But there's been all sorts of allegations of ethical issues, campaign finance irregularities, all the while she doing her consulting. That has essentially clouded her record. So what's the verdict? The good, historic appointment, competent campaign strategist. So yeah, a little applause for that, not bad. But the ugly, potential conflicts of interest and a lack of experience managing governmental operations at this level. Yeah, family, we're just giving them a quick and down. We're doing a quick and dirty breakdown of all of these appointments. And this is my perspective. And here's another thing I want you guys to remember. I want all of these people to do a great job. I want all of these people to do a phenomenal job. I want all of these people to do a phenomenal job. Why is that? Because I love America and I live in this country. So I don't want anybody to fail for one person or another to look bad. No, I want them to do phenomenal jobs. But again, when you look at their history, when you look at them being competent or having experience in those positions or even close to those positions, it just doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up. Anyway, Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller. Now, he's kind of known as the architect of some of Trump's harshest immigration policies. Yep, this guy. Including family separations at the border. Miller's appointment signals a return to hardline stances. And his policies have been widely criticized for the lack of compassion and disproportionate impact on our communities. Verdict, the bad, highly controversial, divisive figure. The ugly, policies likely to exacerbate racial and social inequalities. But I would like to believe this is only going to pertain to people who are illegally in the country. Ambassador to the UN. Wow. Now, I don't really know much about Elsa Stefanik. I really couldn't find, too much on her, so to speak. And I know you guys are more intelligent than I. You guys may know a little bit more about her. But the only thing I would say is when it comes to the verdict with her, I did read that she has very strong communication skills, and the bad, she really has little to no relevant diplomatic experience. So good luck with that. And I know everybody was waiting for this. The borders are. The borders are, the borders are, the borders are. A lot of people was just waiting on the borders are. Well, Tom Homan. Now, if you guys are familiar with Tom Homan, he is infamous for his role in Trump's zero tolerance immigration policy, which separated, this is kind of like a liberal democratic thing, separated families, but some people say separated people who are illegally in the country. So they really don't have any empathy or sympathy for people. But I believe since he's going to be the border czar, I would like to, you should really expect more of the same because he's back in charge. The verdict is the ugly, and here's, some people may give me flack for draconian enforcement with little regard for human rights. I think we need to be very humane when we are deporting people who are illegally in the country. And I know you guys have been hearing that he's going to use the military to do so. Now, the military is a fighting force, okay? The police supposedly is a peacekeeping force. Just keep that in mind, family. We're almost done. We're almost done. EPA head, Lord. I wish I could be, let me be quiet. We're talking about Lee Zeldin or Zeldin. You should really expect rollbacks on environmental protections. So that means that a lot of towns that are near waste sites, chemical sites, radiation sites, these regulations will predominantly affect those people. But again, he's also aligned with fossil fuels. So the Department of Interior, the EPA administrator, and the Department of Energy look for big oil to come back big and strong. And here's the verdict, the bad. Dangerous for climate policy. That's all I have for you. National Security Advisor. Wow. See, Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor. Does anyone know anything about Mike Waltz? Anyone? Anything good, anything bad? And what are you guys' thoughts on some of the breakdowns that I've been given with some of these people? Because I'm gonna look at some of your comments here after I finish up with Mike Waltz as the National Security Advisor. Now, he does bring military and Pentagon experience to the role of the National Security Advisor. So, of course, that's a really good thing. And his background seemed to be solid, but his hawkish views in alignment with Trump's isolation policy could strain U.S. foreign relations and some of our defense strategy. So the verdict, the good military and defense expertise and the ugly may pose a risk of isolationist, I cannot pronounce some words. Policies that may harm international alliances. When we're talking about Mike Waltz, let me read some of your comments. Oh, no one's really commenting. Okay, I'll keep going on, family. I'm almost done here. Trump has chosen South Dakota's governor, Kristi Noem. Did you guys know that? And it really doesn't matter. I'm just going to let you guys know. Do you guys know who her husband is? Does anyone know who her husband is? Kristi Noem. And while you guys think about that, Now, her track record as a hardline conservative, a lot of people are aware of. From sending the National Guard to the border to opposing sanctuary cities. So he's getting everybody who's aligned themselves with a lot of, the policies he's going to be implementing. He's making sure he doesn't get no pushback, no flack, no nothing. He's getting people who have always been against one thing or another. Because her stance on immigration is very strict. Critics worry her policy will further militarize immigration enforcement and create humanitarian crisis, because you have all these different cabinet positions, all these different people in government, right? And what he's doing is he's stacking and layering all the people so he won't have any pushback of some of the things that's about to hit here pretty soon in the inauguration. Is the inauguration for the president, was it January 5th, I believe? I think it's January 5th. I think it's January 5th. I don't recall. But yeah, family, Christie Nome. And here's the verdict. Here's the verdict. The bad, extreme policies with little nuance, the ugly potential for escalating conflicts at the border. Yeah, it's about to get hectic. And I hope, when I mean hectic, I know it has a negative connotation. I just hope that it's all positive, okay? Because again, I'm against illegal immigration, but I'm for legal immigration, okay? 19, Lord have mercy. Lord. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Family, the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Isn't that funny that Elon Musk's cryptocurrency or his altcoin is Dogecoin or Doge? Huh. I wonder, are people starting to invest in Dogecoin because of this particular appointment? Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. And yes, this is a real thing. Okay? And supposedly they're going to be leading a hypothetical department, which is very unconventional. The efficiency part sounds good, but their combined history of erratic statements make this a wild card. The verdict is this: the good, innovation potential; the ugly, risky, and unpredictable. And here's the thing. Have you guys, let me see if I can turn on. It's pretty dark in here. Have you guys ever thought about that both of these, oh, that's really bright. Give me 1 second, family. Have you guys ever thought that both of these guys are billionaires? Both of these guys are billionaires, family. Lord, it's down some. The light was all in my face. There we go. Now, both of these guys are billionaires. And they're talking about Department of Government Efficiency. Yeah, I already kind of gave you guys a verdict on that. CIA director. Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe. Anybody familiar with John Ratcliffe? I'm just waiting for you guys to talk to me back. I see everybody's probably driving home from work. But nonetheless, if you guys can recall, he had a very controversial tenure at the DNI during Trump's first term. And that's a lot. A lot of these people got baggage already from Trump's first term or this entire time them being in government. The verdict is this. Here's the bad. Even though he may be a bipartisan figure or a partisan figure in a role that demands neutrality, I don't see it. I'm just giving you guys a quick and dirty rundown of these people. White House counsel. William J. McGinley. I'm just looking at some of these people, family. And not when I mean looking at them, I'm talking about their professional track record, their resume, so to speak. He's going to be the White House counsel. Are you guys familiar with him at all? Yeah, I don't have much on this guy. I really don't. Except if he had a bald head and a rifle, he could be Remy. You guys remember that? Okay, maybe not. I'm the only one laughing, I guess. Yeah, family, when I'm researching a lot of these people, a lot of the information is very, very hard to find. Is very, very hard to find. It's very hard to find. But when you do find it, there'd be some really good nuggets, okay? There'd be some really good nuggets of information. All right, last but not least, Lord, Mike Huckabee. He has gotten old. Last time I saw Mike Huckabee, he looked at least 10 to 15 years younger than what he is now. I don't know what happened to Mike Huckabee. Well, you know what? Let me go back one because there is a little bit about him I do know. White House counsel. The good here is he is an experienced attorney. He is an attorney. So, and I believe that the bad will probably be likely to prioritize loyalty over the rule of law. Because again, as I told you guys before, Donald Trump wants loyalty. Donald Trump's won loyalty. And I necessarily, stemming from his first presidency, and this is me assuming, so don't count this as fact, that Donald Trump prioritized loyalty over the rule of law. That's all I got for you. Mike Huckabee. Now, he's going to be the U.S. ambassador to Israel. And the reason why I take these pauses, family, because some of these choices, I just be like, okay, I understand. Because Mike Huckabee is pro-Israel policies. And a lot of the American people, okay, we won't specifically talk about who's right, who's wrong in this conflict, but a lot of American people want America to stop funding foreign wars. That a lot of us believe that is one of the contributing factors to the country's inflation. But I think the biggest thing with Mike Huckabee being pro-Israeli is that he has shown an unwavering support for settlements in opposition to a two-state solution. And we know how how Huckabee's evangelical perspective could polarize Middle Eastern diplomacy that may alienate Palestinians and other key players. So the verdict is, or rather the good, strong ally of Israel, right? We've always been allies of Israel, regardless if the regular public puts in a word or not. But the ugly is this. Him being in that position will risk undermining peace efforts, which may exacerbate tensions and continue the war that we're currently in. The one thing I'm noticing, looking at all the picks that we went through, family, is that none of these people are really neutral on anything. They're really hardline stance on what Donald Trump wants. And all his cabinet picks, whoever's helping him pick his cabinet picks, they're making sure that they align with Donald Trump at least 85% of the time. And I'm going to go backwards. I'm not going to speak. I'm just going to let you, for the people who are just tuning in, I'm going to let you guys see some of the breakdown, or the people I broke down, rather. Okay, I'm just flashing through. Some of these people you may not know, they're not very popular. Okay. Again, Secretary of State, or Chief of Staff, rather. You guys may be familiar with her. Again, she's going to 26 years of age, White House press secretary. That's a hell of a job. Dr. Oz, you guys are familiar with him. Fox News anchor, Pete Hegseth. Matt Gaetz, everybody know you, Matt. Marco Rubio. And there you have it, family. That's all I have for you. See, Torles says, thanks for the breakdown. I didn't know much about his picks. Oh, wow. Palestine is cooked. Wow. Well, family, there you have it. I wasn't expecting to really come on camera. I didn't shave or anything, but nonetheless, here I am. You guys have a great and wonderful evening. I'll see you guys on the next one. Be one.